in the states what you have created, where indigenous peoples are, falling victim to these actions of the states, or state governments, and he referred specifically to Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, all created by an act of the British Parliament. And indigenous peoples in all three territories are suffering at the hands of these created states. So they asked the British member, the person appearing before the committee, what is the British government doing to assist indigenous peoples in those states that you created? Talk about somebody being caught in the headlights. Because they sort of more or less think they've washed their hands of the whole thing. But they haven't. So they're on the hook. So it's not, people say, well, these treaties were a long time ago, and, we have to move on from these treaties. I'm more than happy to say, go ahead, move on. If you can't be living here. Because the Royal Proclamation says that. It's still a valid law under the Constitution of Canada. It says that if you're in a territory and there's no treaty, squatters are out. And the Crown has the obligation to remove you. So go ahead and discount the treaties. I have no problem with that. But you don't have any rights in our territory. Because the International Court of Justice said, in the Western Sahara case, 1972, no conquest, no discovery, no terra nullius. What are you going to hang your hat on? The only thing you can hang your hat on is the papal bulls. You all have to change to Catholics. And the papal bull is 1493. Says that, which is still a valid document, by the way. I saw the papal bulls. They're in Seville, Spain, under the direction of the King of Spain. And since 1493 says that we cannot own our lands because we're not Christian. And the 1537 one says that in the process of converting us, you have a right to kill us. Which is what's happening now in this country. With murdered and missing women, murdered and missing men, children taken into care and murdered at the hands of their caregivers. Don't you think that you're hanging your hats on those papal bulls, state of Canada? Those are not valid international laws. Those are Catholic laws. But if that's what you want to do, then own up and say we're using those papal bulls. That we're not Christian. I'm not a Christian. Never been a Christian. 500 years of colonization, I'm not a Christian. My son is not a Christian. I don't even celebrate Christmas. Even though they moved it from August to December, I still don't celebrate it. So, what is the state going to do? What are the people in the state going to do? Because most of the history that's been written about our people and the relationship is, well, my great friend Buffy St. Louis says, is written in the liar's scroll. When I was at university back in the 1970s, early 1970s, I might add, I wrote a history thesis based on the oral history of our peoples, and it was rejected by the university history department because they said our history was not valid history, and I should have submitted an anthropology. And I fought the university, and I went to the Senate. The Senate of the university agreed to have it submitted in history, but then they fired my professor for encouraging me. So I went to law school. I thought, wow, hell of history. Go to law school, find some proof. Then I hit this one. I just want to say one little thing. Somebody said something about the Governor General. I got 2 minutes, I'll tell you what the Governor General. There is a court case going on right now for Onion Lake Cree Nation. When Canada passed the Financial Transparency Act, C-27, Onion Lake went to court against the Governor General and said that the Governor General allowed the treaty rights of our peoples to be violated. And because in the letters patent in 1947, it says the Governor General has to give his consent, not his assent, but his consent to legislation between first and second reading that affects three areas: national parks, railways, Indians, and lands of Indians. The three. He didn't give his consent to this legislation. The last time they did was in 1957. So I went to court in November of 2014 against the Governor General. Then Minister Valcourt got mad, sued Onion Lake, Old Chapways, Thunderchild, Sawridge, and Athabasca Denning for compliance with C-27. We won a permanent injunction against the minister in October 2014 or 2015. They have a permanent injunction against that. The chances of getting a permanent injunction on these kinds of things is almost impossible. Anyway, we got a permanent injunction. Canada, so then we resuscitated, or we brought back, because we put the other case against the Governor General in abeyance, pending this other court case brought by the minister. So when we got the permanent injunction and the government said they weren't going to appeal the decision, we brought back the Governor General case. So in June of 2016, Canada came and said to Onion Lake, we'll present two people for examination as long as you don't examine the Governor General. And the elders in Onion Lake said, no, we want to see the Governor General on the stand, because we have some questions to ask him. Because once Canada had dumped 16,000 pages of documents on Onion Lake, that's a lot of paper. Anyway, I was reading through all this paper and I came across a letter, and it was from the Deputy Minister of Indian Affairs, Michael Warnick, to the Governor General, and it said, attached is a briefing note related to C-27, but there's no attachment. Okay? So we thought we'll put the Governor General on the stand and ask about this briefing note. And so the feds don't like this. They don't want the Governor General to be examined. So in August, no, we're talking about 2016. In August 2016, the Fed said, well, do you have somebody else other than the Governor General that you could examine? So Onion Lake said, we'll examine Michael Warnick, who used to be the Deputy Minister of Indian Affairs, but now is the Principal Secretary of the Cabinet. Let's examine him about this letter, or this briefing note. Well, we didn't say that we wanted to examine, we'll just say we examine. 2 weeks later, the federal government initiated a motion to try to have the case thrown out of court. So now we're talking about the beginning of September. This motion was heard at the end of November in federal court in Edmonton. And I'll just tell you briefly what happened. So the federal government representative of the Department of Justice, they're very cocky, eh? They think they know everything. Kind of A-type personalities or something. Anyway, he says, I'm not going to ask for costs against you today. I'll just let it go. A little bit premature, but anyway, we get into court, and the judge comes in, and it was a guy named Fournier, who's a very well-known, he's actually the profanarian in the federal court, hardly ever shows up to hear cases, hardly ever. He's a judge. Anyway, he shows up to hear this case. So the Crown's sitting there, Onion Lake's over there, comes in and he says, okay, Mr. Roberts, what do you have to say for yourself? Roberts stands up and he says, yes, Mr. Roberts, I've read your very thin brief. You can sit down, I'd like to talk with the lawyers from Onion Lake. For the next hour and a half, he's asking questions about the Governor General. and the role of the Governor General in relation to treaties and the whole history of the treaty making and everything, then he turns and says to Mr. Roberts, Mr. Roberts, what do you got to say about all this? He jumps up and he says, well, Your Honor, the Governor General is under the direction of Canada. Mr. Roberts adjusts his glasses and he looks at him and says, really, Mr. Roberts, has there been a constitutional amendment that I'm unaware of? Because the head of the government of Canada is the Queen, who's represented by the Governor General. The Governor General is not under the direction of the Canada government. So he tells Mr. Roberts, you better provide me with a memorandum and the list of cases that support your position. In the meantime, this hearing is suspended. Goes like this, stands up, walks out. So we're still on the go. We're still moving ahead against the Governor General. Because, really, they think they can do anything they want with us, and they don't have that authority. Just as cocky as he was, he said the Governor General is under the direction of Canada. Thank goodness we had a judge there that caught him on that and said, really? Is that true? Then you better provide me with a memo. Because anybody who goes to law school knows that's true. The head of state is the Queen. And if you looked at, what's his name, William and Catherine, when they came to visit, they landed in Victoria. They get out of their car. Who do they meet first of all? The Governor General. Then the wife of the Governor General, followed by baby Trudeau and his wife, and then the Premier of British Columbia and her son. They went in that line. It wasn't Trudeau standing ahead of the Governor General, because the Governor General is the head of state. Because they're the representatives of the treaty. So, they can't get around that. They may want to, but they can't get around it. So, there is a reason for treaties. And Canada still does not produce the papers that said they own our lands and resources. They'll try to browbeat you. They'll try to use their policies and their little rules and regulations to try to say, yes, they do. But they're just rules and regulations. Because when you win something, and they don't like it, they just change it. It's a rule, it's a regulation. Whereas our laws, we don't get to change them. And I always remind young people, I do a lot of work with young people. Because a lot of people tell our young people, you have to think about changing how you do business. You have to think about doing something different now. Because it is 2015 or 2016 or 2017, whatever year they pick out. And I always tell our young people this. Take a leaf off a tree, or take a pine needle off a pine tree, and look at it. That leaf and that tree, that pine needle are doing the same job as they have been doing since the time of creation. The Creator gave them a job. They take carbon dioxide, they put water, and they make oxygen. That's why we're breathing. What happens if they got together, those pine needles and those leaves, and said, 2017, been doing this a long time. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not making oxygen anymore. Forget about it. I'm going to do something else. What would happen to the creation? It would not survive. Nothing would survive. That's the responsibility we have to the creation. The Creator gave us that responsibility. We as a human, we don't have the right to change that. That's why at the time of the treaty, we could never have said we gave up our lands and resources, because we have a responsibility and obligation to it. So when they tell you that we gave up our lands, our resources, our government, our language, our laws, our children, our water, our everything, what are they trying to fool? That's them living in a fantasy world. Because we could never have done that. And our old people knew that. They knew the laws of our peoples. And that's what they've been trying to tell our young people all this time. That's what we have to remember. And that's what, when I went to Geneva, I remember saying to the elders, gee, I could tell you, you're just a kid. And they said, you know the laws of our people. Just tell them the truth, and it'll carry you a long ways. And that's what I've done all these years. More than 40 years now I've been doing this work. And it's always been the way to do the work is to tell the truth. People might not like it, but that's the truth. And I don't have to tell anything else. Because when we go to the Creator, it'll all go back to the Creator. If you told a lie, you wouldn't have to be responsible for that. So we can't do that. That's another law that we have amongst our people. So, I thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.